Welcome back to Introduction to Lincoln Douglas. Today, we're going to keep going over a normal LD case. Now, last time, we saw the basic parts of a Lincoln Douglas case. So you have value, which is the main goal of the argument. You have the criterion, which is the way you achieve that goal. And then you have your contentions, your main arguments. So your value says, here is my main goal within this argument. Your criterion says, here's how I'm going to achieve that main goal. And your contentions are the main arguments that sort of fall under that. We're continuing to look at a normal LD case because it's so important. It's foundational to what's coming. We're going to have you start constructing cases, and then we're going to have you start responding to other people's cases. And if you keep going into our advanced Lincoln Douglas course, or even if you just start competing in a lot of tournaments, you need to know what a normal case looks like, how it works. And I'll be completely honest with you, most debaters, the best debaters, run very simple, normal cases. So that's why we're looking at it now. So there are a couple other things, and this is what I spend most of our time on in this session. There are a couple other things that are in a normal case other than just a value, criterion, and contentions. Most cases generally start out with definitions. These are really easy. Normally they're just dictionary definitions that you get off of the internet of the words in the resolution. It's important though because it sort of clarifies what you're talking about. So for example, in our pretend resolution, resolved, when in conflict, governments ought to value safety over liberty. It would be important to define safety. Otherwise, your opponent could say that you are arguing for absolute, total, complete, 100% safety, which would probably look a lot like the government locking you in your house forever, which is not fun to argue for. In the same way, it would be important to define liberty. Otherwise, your opponent could say, what you're arguing for is the liberty to harm other people, which is also not good to argue for. So it's important to define your terms and clarify what you're arguing for. So with that, those are the basic components of an LD case. But what I want to do for the rest of this session is I want to construct a normal LD case for the negative side of our pretend resolution. And as we go through, I want you to sort of be thinking about it. After every section in the case, I'll stop and I'll explain what I just did and what I said and what it means. But I want you to try to be thinking ahead, try to be coming up with the answers to, okay, when he says his value is this, what does that mean? Try to think ahead, try to answer those questions ahead of time. Okay, negative side of our pretend resolution. So just to clarify, that means I'm saying that when in conflict, government should value liberty over safety. Here you go. Definitions. Safety. The condition of being protected from or unlikely to cause danger, risk, or injury. Liberty. Freedom from arbitrary or despotic control. Okay, those are just dictionary definitions that I pulled off the internet from dictionaries. But notice what I've done, and this is where it gets really important. I've clarified what I mean by liberty. Let me read my definition again. Liberty is defined as freedom from arbitrary or despotic control. So this makes clear that I'm not arguing for your liberty to shoot someone. I'm arguing for your liberty from arbitrary, overreaching government. See, that's much easier to argue for. My value in this pretend case is human rights. What am I saying here? Think ahead. I'm saying that my main goal in the round is to protect human rights. It means I'm saying that I believe that by negating the resolution, by saying the resolution is false, by saying we should instead value liberty over safety, that we will achieve the protection of human rights. Criterion, limited government. What am I saying? Here, I would explain to the judge that what I'm saying is that limited government will protect human rights. So I'm saying the way to get to the protection of human rights is to limit government, right? And that's what a criterion is. And so that's what I'm arguing for here, criterion of limited government. Contention 1, liberty limits government. So here, I would probably explain to the judge, and here I am explaining this to you, that, say, if governments value liberty over safety, what that does is it means, well, since the government's saying, see, liberty is more important than safety, they need to find ways to protect us that doesn't infringe on our liberty. They need to search for other routes that doesn't violate our rights, that will still end up protecting our rights. So that's what that argument means. Liberty limits government. That's my first contention. Contention 2, limited government protects human rights. Now here I would explain how limited government protects human rights. I would say that liberty gets us to limited government. Remember, my first contention was liberty limits government. So what have I shown? See, I'm building a ladder, is what you can think of it as. I've shown that if we value liberty over safety, it's going to limit the government. Now I'm saying if we limit the government, we're going to protect human rights. And I might prove that by saying unlimited government is tyrannical and tyrants harm rights. That's very easily proven by history. Governments that become tyrannical tend to harm their citizens a lot. But I'm building a ladder to get to my value of human rights. So I'm saying liberty gets us to limited government, so negating the resolution, saying the resolution is false, gets us to limited government. Limited government gets us to the protection of human rights. Now watch what I'm going to do. This is a very normal Lincoln-Douglas move. Contention 3, liberty protects human rights. All I'm doing now is linking contention 1 and contention 2. If liberty gets us to limited government, and limited government gets us to the protection of human rights, then what's the simple connection? Liberty gets us to the protection of human rights. That's an LD case. That's a very standard LD case. I'd probably conclude with saying something that government should value liberty over safety because liberty protects human rights by restraining the government, limiting the government. But that's all a normal LD case looks like. And if you think about it, it's actually a pretty intuitive structure. You say, all right, here's my goal. Here's the main goal that I think negating or affirming the resolution will get us to. Here's how I'm going to achieve that goal. And then you just say, all right, here's how negating or affirming the resolution gets us to my criterion. And then you say, here's how my criterion gets us to my value. And you say, see, because of that chain, you can just say, my side of the resolution gets us to my value. That was a lot. So go back and watch the session again if you think you missed anything. I think this was really, really important to get down. Homework for this session is going back to your list of 3 values for both sides that you made for last session's homework. Now I want you to look for a criterion for each of these values. It's okay if a few of your criterion are the same. That's fine. But you need to make sure that you come up with 3 criterions for 3 values. Next time, we'll start looking at some parts of Lincoln-Douglas that are a little bit more complicated and not quite as normal.